I caught my wife selling my restaurant while I was out buying vanilla. That's not a metaphor. I had run to the spice shop down the street because a delivery came in late, and I wanted the kitchen prepped for tomorrow's tasting. When I came back through the service door, lights off, I heard voices in my office. Tessa's voice, my wife, and Noah's, the young chef I trained for 10 years. Once Marcus signs the renewal, she said, we swap the back page. The lease, the accounts, the brand, all transferred. Ember and Glass becomes official Monday. Noah sounded nervous. And he won't know? He won't even look, she said. He's too busy chasing perfection. He'll sign where I point. By the time he figures it out, he'll be a guest in his own kitchen. I stopped in the dark hallway. My office door was open just an inch. I could see them, her sitting at my desk, calm as a banker, him standing over her with my pen in his hand. Papers everywhere. I recognized the top sheet. Hale and Hearth operating renewal. My restaurant. My life's work. The place I built from a rented food truck into one of the city's best fine dining rooms. And she was signing it away. Noah's voice cracked. He gave me everything. This feels wrong. Tessa didn't even look up. He gave you work, not ownership. You earned the rest. There it was, clear, final betrayal. My wife and my protege plotting to steal everything I built, using forged papers and my trust. I stepped back before the floor could creak. My hands were shaking, but my head was clear. I'd spent 30 years running kitchens. I knew how to control heat. You never shout when the pan catches flame. You move fast, calm, precise. When Noah left, I waited 30 seconds, then walked in. The office smelled like her perfume and printer ink. The folder sat where she left it. I opened it. Page 1, loan renewal, real. Page 2, lease transfer to a company I'd never heard of. Page 3, power of attorney in case of owner incapacity. Page 4, permission to use all menu items, trademarks, and recipes under Ember and Glass. It was perfect forgery, layered like puff pastry. My signature clipped from other contracts and pasted in place. At the bottom of her notes I saw, Friday Marcus signs. Monday file. Next to Monday, she'd drawn a small heart. That's when the heat came back. Quiet, clean, focused. I closed the folder, locked the office, and pulled out my phone. Brennan, a voice said on the second ring. Lyle, I said, it's Marcus Hale. My wife and my sous chef are stealing my restaurant. He didn't laugh. You got proof. I will by morning. Don't confront them. Copy everything. Keep smiling till I tell you to stop. You hear me. I hear you. I hung up and turned off the light. The restaurant sat still around me. Empty tables, glasses shining in the dark. They thought I was blind, old, predictable. They'd forgotten who taught them how to handle fire. Tomorrow, I'd start cooking my own plan. By dawn I was back in the restaurant alone. The city was still half asleep, rain streaking the front windows, the smell of last night's prep still in the air. I didn't open the lights, just the small one over the bar. First rule in any kitchen, know your ingredients. So before I planned revenge, I needed to know exactly what they'd done. I started with the office. The printer still had a warm cartridge. I checked the sent folder on the work computer. 3 PDFs emailed to a private address I didn't recognize. Tessa@emberglass.co. She hadn't even bothered to hide it. Attached were the contracts I saw last night. They were time-stamped. That was all I needed. I copied every file to a USB drive and backed it up to my cloud account under a fake vendor name. Riverstone Deliveries. I printed one clean copy and slid it into an envelope I labeled sumac. No one ever checks the spice shelf. Then I checked the security footage. Our cameras weren't great, but the angle from the prep corridor caught the office door wide open. There they were, my wife, my apprentice, sitting in the glow of the lamp, plotting how to bury me alive in my own kitchen. I downloaded the clip and saved it beside the files. Proof was stacking fast. At 8, I called Detective Brennan again. I've got footage and documents, I said. I want this airtight. Keep everything off your main systems, he said. We'll cross-check bank accounts and investor emails. They forged your name, will match the paper trail. What about the investors? I asked. They must be part of it. They're not, he said. They think you're stepping down. Your wife's been playing the loving partner. Marcus deserves rest. Real convincing act. I thanked him and hung up. That line hit deep. Rest. I'd worked since I was 20. No trust fund, no second chances. Rest wasn't a word I knew. The restaurant wasn't just my business. It was my identity. They weren't just stealing money. They were erasing who I was. By noon, I knew my next move. The new restaurant, Ember and Glass, was scheduled to launch the following Friday. Investors, media, critics. Big night. That's where I'd finish it. I called my assistant manager, Maya. Pull the event invites for next week, I said. She hesitated. I thought Mrs. Hale was handling that. She was, I said. Now I am. Forward everything to my private email. No emotion. Keep it steady. Then I sent a message to the landlord pretending to confirm the renewal date. His reply came fast. All ready to transfer Monday once the signed copy arrives from your office. Perfect. Their timeline was still intact. Late afternoon, I went home early. Tessa was in the kitchen, slicing fruit like she had all the time in the world. She smiled when she saw me. You're home before dark. That's a first. Thought I'd give you a break, I said. We've both been working too hard. She nodded, wiping her hands on a towel. You'll sign those renewal papers tomorrow, right? I promised the bank. Of course, I said easily. I'll take care of it first thing. She kissed my cheek like nothing was wrong. You're a good man, Marcus. I smiled. So are you. She laughed, not catching the edge in it. After dinner, she poured herself wine and talked about the future. After this launch, she said, you could finally slow down. Travel. Write a cookbook. I played along, nodding, filing every lie. When she went to bed, I stayed up at the kitchen table. I opened my laptop and stared at the Ember and Glass website. Clean design. Tagline. A new flame in fine dining. Below that, in bold, Chef Marcus Hale's vision, reimagined. They'd already used my name to advertise the very thing they planned to steal. I sat there until my coffee went cold. Then I wrote a plan. 5 steps, clean and sharp as a knife edge. 1. Collect every piece of proof. Emails, contracts, video, witness statements. 2. Feed them rope. Sign what they expect, so they think the con worked. 3. Redirect investors quietly. Let them believe I'm on board until launch night. 4. Replace the live kitchen feed. Show their fraud publicly. 5. Call Brennan the minute it plays. Let the law finish the plate. I looked at the clock, 2:17 a.m. Friday was 6 days away. I could almost hear my younger self laughing. Me at 25, hustling tables, dreaming of Michelin stars. If that kid could see me now, sitting in the dark, planning revenge on the woman he married and the boy he trained, he'd think I'd lost my mind. But he'd understand one thing. You don't let people burn down your kitchen. You use the fire they started. I closed the laptop, poured the coffee down the sink, and whispered, 6 days. Then they'll know who they're cooking with. By Monday, the act was in full swing. I signed the renewal papers right in front of Tessa. She handed me the folder, careful not to meet my eyes. Just here, she said, tapping the line. I signed cleanly, my hand steady. She smiled like victory tasted sweet. Perfect, she said. The bank will be thrilled. I smiled back. I'm sure they will. She didn't know the signature page she'd handed me wasn't the real one. I'd switched it the night before. The original, with her forged clauses, was sitting in a sealed envelope in Detective Brennan's office, marked evidence, case pending. The one she had was a decoy, harmless paperwork that would buy me 4 more days. That night, I went to the new restaurant, Ember and Glass, uninvited. Construction lights still burned inside. Workers painted the walls, hung glass panels, polished fixtures. The place was sleek, expensive, cold. Noah stood near the bar giving orders, acting like a man who'd earned the right. He didn't see me at first. When he did, his voice faltered. Chef, I didn't expect. Just looking, I said. You've done a lot in a short time. He nodded. Yeah, it's been a rush. Tessa with you? She's at the supplier meeting. Good. I stepped closer. You ever stop and think what you're doing? He looked down. Every day. Then you already know how it ends, I said, and walked out. The next few days were a blur of silence and planning. I kept working at Hale and Hearth like nothing had changed. Tessa stayed sweet. Calls, texts, fake warmth. Noah avoided me completely. Good. The guilt made him predictable. I met with Brennan on Wednesday in a quiet diner. He looked older but sharp, same gray suit that never seemed to wrinkle. You've got enough to bury them, he said, sliding a flash drive across the table. Emails, investor statements, recordings. We even found the shell company they used, registered to your wife's maiden name. Classic. Will it stick? I asked. Once we play this in front of witnesses? Oh, it'll stick like caramel. He leaned in. You sure you want to go public? We could arrest them quietly. I stirred my coffee. Quiet doesn't make thieves learn. This one needs light. He nodded slowly. Then I'll have a team watching the event. The second the evidence plays, we move. Thursday night. The restaurant buzzed like a storm before rain. Tessa came home glowing. Tomorrow's the big night, she said. Investors, media, everyone's coming. You should be there, Marcus. A final toast, for old time's sake. Maybe I will, I said, keeping my face neutral. She laughed, kissed my cheek, and poured herself wine. You'll be proud, she said. I already am. She didn't catch the tone. When she went upstairs, I sat in the dark living room. The city lights blinked through the window, the hum of traffic distant and slow. I thought about every sacrifice, the burns on my hands, the birthdays I missed, the nights I slept on the restaurant floor. That place wasn't just mine, it was me. And they tried to cut my name off like a loose tag on a shirt. Tomorrow would fix that. Friday came like a service rush. From the moment I woke up, everything moved in rhythm. At 6, I dressed in my old chef coat. Crisp white, my name embroidered over the heart. At 7, I loaded the presentation file into a small drive marked Menu Update 2025. It wasn't a menu. It was the full compilation, contracts, video, emails, all set to play on the kitchen's giant glass display screen during Noah's live cooking demo. At 8, I called Brennan. Tonight, 8 sharp. When the screen changes, that's your cue. He said, copy that. At 7:45, I parked 2 blocks from Ember and Glass. The building shimmered with light, crystal glass walls reflecting the street like a mirror. Guests in suits and dresses filed inside. The media cameras were already rolling. I walked through the doors like I belonged there, because I did. Heads turned. Some investors smiled, surprised. Noah froze mid-sentence when he saw me. Marcus, Tessa said, stepping forward, face tight. I didn't know you were coming. I wouldn't miss it, I said. Big night. She forced a laugh. Always welcome, of course. Noah's hands trembled as he held a wine glass. We're just about to start the demo. I'll watch, I said. Show me what you've learned. The lights dimmed. A hostess announced the showcase, the rebirth of fine dining, Ember and Glass. Applause. Cameras flashed. Noah moved behind the counter, plating with shaking hands. Tessa took the microphone. We built this dream together, she said. A tribute to Chef Marcus Hale's vision, reimagined for the next generation. That was my cue. The screen behind them flickered. For a second, the crowd saw the logo of the restaurant. Then it changed. First image, Tessa's email to investors. Marcus is signing over ownership next week. Second, Noah's forged lease documents. Third, the video clip from my security camera, her voice saying, he'll never know. Gasps filled the room. Phones came out. The investors turned toward her, faces twisted with confusion. Tessa froze, microphone still in hand. The next slide appeared, her signature beside Noah's on the forged transfer form. The heading read, Evidence of Fraudulent Activity, Hale and Hearth. Noah dropped the plate he was holding. It shattered on the counter. Marcus, Tessa whispered, eyes wide. What did you do? I stepped forward, voice calm, steady. You wanted transparency. I said, nodding toward the glass walls. Welcome to the glass room. The doors burst open. Detective Brennan walked in with two officers. Tessa Hale, Noah Parker, you're under investigation for fraud, forgery, and identity theft. The cameras kept flashing. Reporters shouted questions. Tessa tried to speak, but no words came out. Noah backed away, pale and shaking. I turned toward the investors. You'll get your money back. The chef you trusted is still here. Just not the one you thought. The officers led them out through the same glass doors they'd used to walk over me. I stood under the lights, the crowd whispering, the smell of panic thick in the air. I felt the same calm I used to feel when a service ended clean and perfect. I took one last look at the broken plate on the counter, then walked out into the night. Behind me, the restaurant buzzed with sirens and noise. Ahead of me, the street was quiet. Justice doesn't always come with fire. Sometimes it comes cold, plated, and served right on time. The room exploded the second the footage ended. People weren't sure whether to clap, run, or call someone. Flashbulbs popped like grease on a skillet. Tessa stood frozen in the middle of it, microphone still in her hand. She tried for a smile that didn't come. There must be some mistake, she said, her voice breaking halfway through the word mistake. An investor shouted back, "Those were your emails." Noah had turned white. He stepped away from the counter like the stove might burn him. "Chef, please," he said, reaching toward me. "Don't," I told him. "You've done enough." Detective Brennan moved in from the rear with two officers. He didn't even raise his voice. "Tessa Hale, Noah Parker, you're under arrest for forgery and corporate fraud. You have the right to remain silent." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Reporters pressed closer, cameras flashing. Tessa tried to move, but Brennan's partner was already guiding her hands behind her back. She turned her head, eyes meeting mine. "You set me up," she said softly. "No," I said. "You did that yourself." I just turned on the lights. The investors watched in stunned silence as Brennan's team collected the folder from the counter. He gave me a small nod, everything working exactly as planned. Noah was crying now, trying to explain to the nearest officer. She said he was retiring. I didn't know. "Save it for the statement," Brennan said. As they led them out through the glass doors, the crowd parted. Tessa kept her chin high, pretending not to see the phones recording her. Noah couldn't stop shaking. I stayed where I was, letting the noise die down around me. When the door finally shut behind them, the only sound left was the hum of the lights and the soft crackle from the broken plate still lying on the counter. One of the investors approached me. "Is it true? They tried to sell your brand." I nodded. "With my signature." He exhaled hard. "We had no idea, Marcus." "I'm sorry. Don't be," I said. "You believed what they sold you. Now you've seen what I actually cook." The line earned a few nervous chuckles from the guests who didn't know what else to do. Brennan walked back in, holding the evidence bag. "We'll handle the rest from here," he said quietly. "I know." He looked at me for a second. "You okay?" "I'm fine," I said, for the first time in months. He gave me a short nod and left. The crowd began to thin. Some investors stayed behind to shake my hand, half to apologize, half to assure themselves I was real. I let them talk, thanked them, promised a proper statement later. When the last of them left, I walked to the main counter. The spotlight still hit the glass wall just right. In it, I could see my own reflection, older, tired, but still standing. I picked up the shattered plate and set it on the pass. "Service is over," I said under my breath. The kitchen staff, who'd been hiding near the back, came out slowly. My sous chef from Hale and Hearth, Maya, stepped forward. "Chef, what do we do now?" I looked around at the wrecked tables, the flashes of blue light outside, the last of the cameras packing up. "We clean up," I said. "Then we start fresh." 15 minutes later, I stepped outside. The night air was cool, the noise of the city distant. Behind me, the glass walls glowed with police lights. I didn't look back long. I didn't need to. They'd built their empire out of lies. I'd just let the truth show through. As I walked toward my truck, Brennan called out from the doorway. "You sure you don't want to ride?" I shook my head. I've been driven long enough. He smiled. You did good, Marcus. Most people would have lost their temper. I slid my hands into my pockets. You ever run a kitchen? He frowned. No. Then take it from me. I said. When the fire flares, you don't panic. You use it. He laughed, waved, and went back inside. I started the engine, pulled away from the curb, and let the restaurant fade in the rearview mirror, glass shining like a mirror in the dark. The line came to me as the streetlights passed overhead. They wanted transparency. They got it. And that was the end of Ember and Glass. Scene, to complete the story, the following morning, the story hit every major paper in the city. Celebrity chef's wife and business partner arrested in fraud scandal. My name was on the front page again, but this time for surviving instead of succeeding. By 8 a.m., my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters, investors, old friends, even enemies pretending to check in. I ignored them all. I made coffee, sat at the table, and listened to the silence of my house. No perfume in the air. No footsteps upstairs. Just quiet. Around 10, Brennan called. They confessed, he said. Your wife handled the paperwork. The kid handled the signatures. They were planning to launch a week later using your name and menu. They'd already taken investor deposits. We traced the accounts to her maiden name, like I guessed. I didn't speak. You got everything back, he said. Bank froze the funds this morning. The court will clear the ownership by Monday. I let out a slow breath. Good. Let them keep the name Ember and Glass. They earned it. He chuckled. You could press charges, you know. I just did, I said. He was quiet for a moment. You going back to work? Always, I said. By noon, I was at Hale and Hearth. The staff stood awkwardly when I walked in, waiting for me to say something. I looked around at the tables, the familiar light through the front window, the smell of garlic and roasted stock. Everything still in its place. Listen, I said, setting my bag down. You've probably seen the news. Half of it's true. The other half's nonsense. What matters is this. Our name stays, our people stay, and service starts at 6. Nothing changes except who signs the checks. A few nervous laughs rippled through the kitchen. The tension broke. Maya smiled. Yes, chef. That sound, chef, felt clean again. I spent the next hour in my office, erasing the remnants of their plan. Tessa's folder was gone, replaced by new ledgers. Her photos came off the walls. Her handwriting, her notes, all of it into a box marked closed file. When I finished, the desk looked like it did the day I opened this place 20 years ago. Bare, honest, simple. I stepped out front. Sunlight bounced off the glass doors. Outside, reporters still lingered, hoping for a quote. One shouted, Chef Hale, how does it feel to be vindicated? I looked at him through the window and said nothing. Some victories didn't need noise. That evening, I worked the line myself. No camera crews, no audience. Just tickets, knives, and the steady rhythm of orders. My hands remembered every motion. By 9, the last plate left the pass. I stood there a moment, sweat on my arms, heartbeat calm. Maya leaned over. Chef, you okay? Better than okay, I said. Feels like I'm back where I belong. She nodded. They say you can't run a kitchen without fire. I smiled. You just have to make sure it doesn't burn the wrong people. When the staff left, I stayed behind. The dining room lights glowed warm against the glass. I poured myself a small drink and walked to the front window. Across the street, the empty shell of Ember and Glass sat in darkness. The sign had already been taken down. I raised the glass in its direction. To lessons, I said quietly. The truth was, I didn't feel joy. Not hate, not triumph. Just balance. The scales were even again. I locked up, stepped outside, and breathed in the night air. Hale and Hearth stood solid behind me, exactly as it had been. Proof that some things, when built with care, survive the heat. As I walked to my truck, the same thought replayed in my head, slow and certain. They built their lies on glass. I built my life on fire. One melts, the other forges. I turned the key, started the engine, and drove away, The reflection of my restaurant glowing steady in the mirror, unbroken, alive, mine. Please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Where are you watching from? We like to know.